What's up, everybody? It's the Benchwarmers, and we are back for day 4 of our daily NFL Power Ranking series. Yes, so we are at the number 29 team right now. Still not a great team, but a team with potential going into the future. But before we reveal what team that is to you, please like and subscribe. We're on the road to 100 subscribers, and we would really appreciate if you would like and subscribe. That would mean so much to us because we put in this time for you, and it means so much to us and hopefully to you. But with that said, with the 29th overall team in the NFL, we have the New York Jets.
Last year, the Jets didn't have the greatest season of all time, let's just say. They ended up finishing 2-14 with wins in 2 of the last 3 games. They probably didn't want to win these games at all, however, because it made them miss out on Trevor Lawrence. They ended up taking Zach Wilson instead, who is talented, but he's not a generational talent in the way that Trevor Lawrence is. Additionally, they had the worst offense in the league last year in terms of yards, but they actually were their defense wasn't too terrible, at least compared to their offense. They had some good young spots, or some bright spots last year, I guess, with Quinnen Williams having 7 sacks including an injury that had him sit out for a few games. So maybe he could have had even double-digit sacks if he played every game. Mekhi Becton and Ashton Davis were also good rookies. So they have a lot of young potential. They'll continue to develop a lot in the future.
Another thing which they did really well in the offseason was their draft. They had a really solid draft, and they pretty much got a lot of the needs which they had, especially on the offensive end. They obviously, as Andrew mentioned, drafted Zach Wilson with the 2nd overall pick. And then with the other picks, basically gave pieces to help support him, which is something they just didn't do for Sam Darnold. I guess they just like Zach Wilson more. I guess it's probably just the environment, the coaching changes and everything. So they drafted offensive tackle Elijah Vera Tucker from USC. They drafted wide receiver Elijah Moore and running back Michael Carter, who was a sneaky, really good pick because he had some pretty insane performances in the NCAA season. But still, I think these offensive pieces will help the Jets a lot, especially considering that they had an entire retooling of their team to make it more younger and more hopeful for the future. So I think that overall, the draft was very good for the New York Jets.
And now for the other part of their offseason, which is just the general free agency signings, I think the Jets did a really good job because they addressed the needs that they didn't address in the draft. So starting off with coaching, they got Robert Saleh, who's one of the best head coaches on the available market, and they signed him right away before other teams could talk to him. I think this is a great signing because he's proven to be an excellent coach with the 49ers, and he basically revived a losing team and let them make the Super Bowl the next year. And it was just a really good run. And defensively, they also got many good pieces. They got the defensive end, Vinny Curry, who I think will pair very well with some of the other players on the Jets. They also got a defensive tackle, Sheldon Rankins, and signed him to a 2-year, $17 million deal. They got LaMarcus Joyner at corner, Carl Lawson at defensive end, and Justin Hardy at corner. So these are some really solid signings. And then on offense, they got Tevin Coleman at running back and Corey Davis at wide receiver to a 3-year, $37.5 million deal after he had a breakout year this year. And they also got Tyler Croft at tight end. However, they did lose Sam Darnold, and they did lose some other players too, but they weren't very noteworthy. They lost Sam Darnold, and he was traded to the Panthers for a 1st, 2nd, and 4th, which is actually a pretty good trade. So I think overall the Jets offseason was really solid. They got a lot of good free agents, and they got the other players that they needed in the draft.
Yeah, in conclusion, I think the Jets did really well overall in the offseason and the draft. This is really one of the first years where I feel like they're no longer stuck in just this endless cycle of being terrible, and they actually have some hope for the future. However, they're not quite there yet, obviously, because it's really just the first year that they're starting to make major improvements in terms of their rebuild. They have good young pieces. They addressed a lot of their team needs. But unfortunately, they will still need to continue to develop before they can become a respectable team in the NFL. But at least they're not the worst, as we probably would have ranked them in years past.
Yeah, as you might have listened to the last video, I had the Jags ranked at this spot, which means I had the Jets ranked at number 30. The reason why is I still don't trust that defense because I don't trust their corners. I don't trust their like linebacker core that much. I think that was the weaker part of their defense. I think Quinnen Williams was just a force to reckon with. And I think that that front few were definitely really solid. But I think they need to do more on that front. Also, I am still not fully sold on Zach Wilson. I know Zach Wilson got a ton of hype from his workout and after the season, but he was at BYU, so he didn't have the craziest of competition. Obviously, it was a team who was ranked in like the 18-20 range in the college season, but it's still like it was a one-season wonder for him, and I hope he does well for his sake and the Jets' sake because they've been such a mediocrity to bad franchise for so long. But I think that the Jets need to really build around Zach Wilson, give him every single weapon possible so that he can succeed. The Jets last year had Sam Darnold, and I consider Sam Darnold a decent quarterback. He might not be the most accurate, but he definitely has a lot of potential. I mean, another team traded a first, second, and fourth for him. With a decent quarterback like Sam Darnold, the Jets went 2-14. So with a rookie quarterback in the helm and a lot of new pieces, I don't know how much better they can be. I still don't see that team being over 5 wins, even though their schedule is somewhat decent. I just don't see it happening this year, which is why I rank them a bit below.
I agree with both of you. I think the Jets have definitely made some improvements this season, but I don't think they're going to go that far just because I think a lot of these pieces are new. So offensively, they drafted a new quarterback, and also a lot of their wide receivers are new. So, for example, they just got Corey Davis, and they also just got Tevin Coleman at running back. So I think when you have all these new pieces working together, I don't know if it'll click right away. It might click later on in the season, or it might even click next season. And defensively, they weren't exceptional, and they just added and re-signed some pieces. So I don't think the improvements are going to come right away, but I think they'll come as time continues. So for right now, I still think they're going to go around 4-13 or maybe 5-12.
But that wraps it up for this episode of the NFL Power Ranking series. That is the 4th video so far. So let us know who you think will probably be number 28 on our list. We're still not getting into real good teams yet, but eventually we'll get there. But this is the Benchwarmers, and we're signing out. See ya.